Yes, I did take the police station on my own. The point is, it's quite crucial and actually weren't 45 places. I have got the, I think this to you, if you remember.
Yes.
I have got the evidence that there's 29 places, plus 5 public places, so it's quite a crucial error by the she comes to it. And no, I was on my own, I didn't come with me. No. So we could change those.
Otherwise, happy?
There was one other correction on page 3. The second line from the top. My understanding of it was not that there'd been any adjustment to the county electoral timetable. It happened that they could accommodate changes in administration. There hadn't been any adjustment to the timetable, and that, again, I think that's quite important because the whole point is that the officer timetable did not, the county did the timetable. I think it was the wrong.
Certainly, Chair, from the original timetable that we had, we did extend it to allow for the outside elections.
Fine, thank you for that. Otherwise, would we accept these as correct? And extend a welcome to Merton.TV. I thought this was probably such a dry meeting that they were going to
Police were closed off Abbotsbury Road, so sorry for the delay.
Right, the only business this evening is the business plan budget. I'm proposing to do this in 4 steps. We're going to ask Caroline for a brief overview of where we are. I'm then going to go through the savings that fall to the Commission line by line. I'm then going to invite the chairs of the panels to give us a feedback on their screening process. We're then going to look at the capital part of the programme and the chunky bits of the business plan before we wrap up and decide what reference we want to make back to Cabinet. Okay? Caroline, I'm going to ask you to start.
Thank you, Chair. I was going to take sort of items 4 and 6 together, if that was okay.
Indeed, I should have said that.
So we have in front of us the papers which went to December Cabinet, and I'll go through that first and then touch briefly on the January Cabinet paper as well, which had the main update on our budget and has shown the progress in delivering a balanced budget over the 4-year period. It also went through and updated our assumptions of the main items of expenditure. It has quite a detailed now capital programme and changes to the capital programme, which we'll come on to, as you said, in the second part of the table. It also had, I suppose, particularly more for this meeting than some of the other panels, an update on the council tax base and what that means to be able to generate some additional council tax income for us. And then probably more importantly, it gave detail on all the savings that have been put forward to Cabinet along with the draft quality assessments. So it's just short of £9.7 million worth of savings. So you also had didn't end up to be a Christmas present at the end, but you did get a New Year's present from us with sort of the information pack and all that detail. So of particular interest again for this panel is our capital strategy and also our treasury management strategy. So this shows where we're spending our capital monies, how that programme is being funded, and then also what we're doing with any surplus monies that we have and how we're investing those, and our loans that we have and what we're doing about those as well. Within the actual savings information pack, we have, for your attention, on page 63, we've now got a summary of all of the drafted quality assessments with their outcome. These will be drafted as we go through onto Cabinet and onto Council, and only as they are implemented, and there may be further equality done at that time will they be updated. So these are draft, but if there are things that you think that are missing, then please do let us know. The outcomes that can come from an equality assessment is from 1 to 4, and basically, if you have a 4, you go back and do it again. Legal and our equalities team will not let those proposals through. So,
page is that, Karen?
63 of the information pack. So it's between the two. So yes. So all the details in there. And clearly, as the Commission and indeed all the panels, you have all of the information, so you can see the impact of all savings that are being proposed, and so you know the detail and also sort of complexity of what's the challenge ahead of us. But even with all of those savings, we still have a gap. Particularly at the end of December, we still had a gap of 8.8 million. And then what we did with the January Cabinet paper, which is item 6 on the agenda, we had an update on the draft financial settlement. We still have no indication of the final settlement, so it could be that we may be very close to Cabinet by the time we get the final settlement. Clearly, Brexit is delaying that, so but I hope not to say too much more about Brexit this evening. And also, I think more importantly for local authorities, it gives some updates on the spending review and then the fair funding review, which will have a major impact on local authorities from 2021 onwards. There were very little changes, in some ways good, in some ways bad, from what we had already anticipated. So very few additional monies for us. There was some surplus business rate which have been returned to us, so that was some news we hadn't been expecting. And we have got some dedicated school grants, additional funding, that I think for us, roughly 250,000 and nowhere near enough to deal with the challenges that we have in those areas, as we discussed with the children's panel. It sets out some of the details around the GLA budget, clearly as they are responsible for the police. They are able to use £24, and then plus the balance that they're allowed to. So they are proposing currently an 8.9% increase, and they are currently still out consultation on that. But they are hoping that the final settlement will come through to enable them to set their council tax, because that then feeds into all of ours. We have also set out that there is continuation of the business rate pool, but at a reduced level of 75%. And we are working through, and we'll have an update to the February Cabinet of what that will mean for us, and also the impact of the appeals that are still outstanding and causing us some hurts and challenges, because in 2017 they're still increasing. So that's causing us some challenges that we just still need to deal with. However, you can see from the papers in front of you that we do currently have a balanced budget for 2019-20, but we do have gaps going forward, and it's how we'd like to deal and mitigate with those, some of the savings that we've got in front of us tonight. So I'm happy to take questions on the overall, and then as you say, we go into implementation.
There's one on the police precinct at 8.9%. Is that not subject to any cap then?
No, so the £24 was set by the government, so that's their allowance, and then the excess of the £2.28 is their minimum or maximum of 3%. So penalties, so police authorities were given special dispensation to increase their tax.
Other questions?
Really just picking up on the same thing. So we're already set with all these assumptions that the council tax in Merton will go up by 4.99%. And when you add on the GLA precept, have you done the back of the envelope calculation as to what that means for their public when they get their council tax demand? It'll be over 5%, isn't it?
Yes, so I haven't done that as yet, but I suppose I would draw your attention to Council in February agreed to extend the council tax support scheme, so people on low income and pensioners will not be paying council tax.
sorry, page, the figures on page 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, on the yellow, today's agenda there. It's just the council tax increase for after 1920 is 2%.
So previously, the maximum increase had been 2%. The government, as part of the settlement for 1819 and 1920, increased it to 3%, specifically for those 2 years. So we're assuming we'll go back down to the 2% unless we need.
Okay, and one other, just for reference, Caroline. Page 133, that's the same table. Can we take the table on page 133 as the more up-to-date version that we should refer to? Yeah, okay. Thank you.
So, sorry, just on that, try and get the, it's working,
Yeah, should be right.
yeah, thank you. So, just trying to get a bit of clarity around the numbers. But with regard to where the starting point back in September, I think that the gap was, I've just looked at it and lost it again, about £657,000. But now, with the, let's say, savings, with the income proposals, we're in the sort of territory of about 2.5 million surplus in 1920, which is largely there to top up the balancing the budget reserve. Can you, because I've had a conversation with you about this, I wonder if you could get some clarity there for us as to what's happening here, because it seems as though we started off not wanting more than 650,000. We now seem to have a surplus built in so that we can top up the balancing budget reserve for future years. Is that correct?
No, so in the September paper, whilst we had a gap of 791 at the end.
So, page you read on?
I'm not, so this is from the September cabinet paper, but I'll bring you back to the page 133. That was assuming the full use of our balancing the budget reserve of just over 6 million. Now when you look at page 133, partway down, you'll see appropriation to from balancing the budget reserve. So partway down, so just before the budget requirement on page 133, you will see that we are now using 2.6 million of balancing the budget reserve in 1920, and we're using a further 3.4 million in 2021. And then there's nothing left to use from 21-22 onwards. So we have received, so certainly when we set the budget originally, we had not allowed for the additional 1% increase in potential to increase the council tax, so that's come through and we've done that, as well as then some of the other adjustments from September, the October, the December cabinet.
Yes, but I suppose the point I'm trying to make, and it'll become relevant later, is we were originally going, just to repeat what the directors just said, we were originally going to take 6 million out, and there would have been nothing in 2021. We're now, I say only, we're now taking less than that, 2.6 million, so that there is 3.4 million for next year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a choice that's been made to deal with. In other words, we have to put together a balanced budget legally, 1920. But the opportunities being taken here to do things for 2021,
Yes.
which is just a choice that's being made.
And whilst we're on this, Karen, can I also ask you about the departmental reserves, which show each year for the 4-year NTFS contributions dwindling out to 2.3. Exactly, where's that coming from?
So those are from the earmarked reserves and the appropriate use of them. So if,
Right.
just trying to think, so our transformation reserve, the outstanding capital program reserve is funding item, which is items which are expenditure, so around our transformation, around our IT, those include the departmental budgets, and we're using the reserves to offset some of those costs.
Fine, so this is all stuff which we planned for, we've allocated funds, and then will be used. Okay.
We don't have an updated reserves table yet, do we?
That comes in February capital.
So we're talking in a vacuum a bit. I see Councillor Alison screws his face up. We're talking in a vacuum because we don't have the information in front of us tonight, and that's just been admitted by the director.
Okay. I think we'll go on to the analysis of the detailed savings. I think back here, turn to page 13.
Sorry, are you saying that you don't think we've got the information required to make the judgment on the agenda that's present this evening?
In the context of the use of balances, we can't track that because we don't have the information in front of us. So the chairman was just asking about the use of departmental budgets, because there is a schedule normally of the balances that are held, the reserves, the earmarked reserves that are held, and we're not able to see tonight the ins and outs that are projected. We're not able to track the reserves figures from the last time they were produced, which was several months ago, and we don't have that now. We won't get it until Cabinet, and so there won't be another meeting of open scrutiny before then.
Yeah, so my point is, do you think that's, are you saying that those figures are essential to the agenda this evening? And do you feel unable to speak to this agenda without those figures?
No, we've plenty of other information. I'm just pointing out to the Commission that we are minus that information, which was the source of questions from both myself and the Chair.
No.
Okay. Let's start looking at the savings on page 13. The first one. Can I just comment on this? That in some 13 years of scrutinising the budget, I have never ever before seen the risk analysis rated as very high. It's never been other than high. Just leave that with you.
Sorry, if I could just say, sorry, that's a mistake. We only have low, medium, high. I apologise, that shouldn't be say very high.
I don't think it's a mistake at all. I'm going to weigh in on this. I think this is a terrible idea. If you look at the impact assessment, it's clear that there are potentially repercussions from this that affect the whole of the but as the market sector cascades down, and the SC particularly is the umbrella organisation, the things that we do for the SC will affect the ramifications right through the voluntary sector. We really need, I feel, to have a very clear understanding of how they will respond to this. I mean, it is analysed in the impact assessment, which is helpful. But I think as we don't have that information at present, I would be quite nervous about approving this saving, which is not for the coming year. So we're not saying we can't set a balanced budget. But we really need to know a great deal more about how both NDSC and the CAB will respond to that. Whether they can find alternative funding, I mean, that would be fine, but quite honestly, grant awarding bodies generally don't make awards simply to cover ongoing running costs, only for new projects.
Would agree, Chairman, and second that.
I'm saying that I don't think we really should be approving that saving at this stage. It is for 2020, 2021, without a lot more information about the ramifications of what you said.
If we approve it now, Chief, that prevent us from changing when we get to 2021, changing the figures? Or if it's approve now, it stands.
I think in practice you can't really, budget for your 4-year NTFS without, if you're going to cut back and take out savings that you previously agreed. Carol,
We constantly review core savings. So you do see throughout the pack that there are previously agreed savings which have been replaced. So there is that option to replace savings but with something else, and that's the first call before you then look to close the remaining 8.8 million gap.
And the spade reference to alternative premises, is that anything more than a vague reference? To the council presumably providing alternative premises, is that a reference?
They are our premises. So
Yeah.
so that's what I'm saying, if they then found their own premises, then we would be paying them.
No, their own premises or alternative premises. I think that's a reference to us finding premises.
Well, one suggestion in the equality impact assessments is that we could consider reaccommodating them here in the civic centre. But you also then need to look at what future you propose for Vestry Hall and also the myriad of smaller charities that are currently there.
All I was asking was that is there any more detail than that fact that there's a possibility? There's no more detail at this stage. No.
I agree.
When you're saying you're not approving it, what specifically do you mean?
I'm saying
I didn't realise it was our remit to approve it, so to speak.
Well, we're looking at proposed savings. We are either saying that we are content with them, or we're saying that we are not content. Yeah.
Cool. So we're going to call it in for further sort of looking at this specifically. Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting we don't take it as part of the budget, that we make a referral back to cabinet saying we are not happy about taking this saving at this time.
Cabinet hasn't got to accept your recommendation.
Well, I was intending to sweep all these up at the end, but I mean, perhaps for now we can just flag this as one we come back to. So that's one. Come on to the next one, reducing the strategic partner grant by 10%. again, you would notice on the summary of the impact assessments, this is a relatively high rating of 3. Any comments or views on that? It is not until way out there at the end of the 4-year MTFS. But no comments.
Well, you know, I think there are times to pick your fight, aren't there? It is 4 years out. So it's 4 years out.
Sorry.
Okay. Next one, reduction in staffing. Cameron, perhaps you could explain this one to us, because is this something where we have an option, or we just respond to what the Home Office instruct us to do?
So the Home Office have stopped us undertaking nationality checks. So that ended at the end of December. So that's what we mean by option
Okay,
given to
so
us by the Home Office.
we're not required to do it, we don't require the member staff who does it.
We're not allowed to do it.
Right. So I imagine we're comfortable with that, yeah. Let's turn the page 14. First one at the top there. Again, it's not until 2021. Can I just ask one question? We're looking to an increase in recoveries of overpayment of housing benefit. At the same time, we're proposing to reduce the staff who will do it. Or am I oversimplifying?
But with the introduction of the real-time initiative and attachments of earnings, those are automatic recovery, and plus some of these are vacant posts at this moment in time. So.
Can I ask? When we looked at this before, and I don't mean recently, there are statistics that are available for us to look at, our statistical neighbours, as well as, sorry, we can look at our statistical neighbours as well as our other London boroughs. And it's a question of perhaps where we fit into that, isn't it? So, for example, if on average a particular kind of benefit claim is processed across London in 3 weeks, but we're actually doing it in 2 weeks now, then maybe that would be acceptable. If the average is 15 and it's currently taking us 20 working days, then it wouldn't be acceptable. And I don't feel I've got any information that tells me what the real impact here. We're told that performance indicators would drop, but like, how much is that a big issue, or is it not? Can somebody give us the answer? And if not, then it's perhaps another one to go back.
Mike, please.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have the specific stats with me or comparisons tonight, but we are meeting all of our targets that we've set ourselves, and obviously those targets will be set in conjunction with what others are achieving, because we're continuing benchmarking. It's just that we don't have them in front of me tonight necessarily. Summarised in the service plan. But we are very much meeting our targets for turning around claims of that nature. That's really what
I suppose what I'm saying, Chairman, is that then we'd have to change, probably have to change the targets, but we've got no context to know whether that would be taking us from really good to really bad, or from moderately good to average.
Karen.
Certainly the indicators that we publish on our website shows our current processing days, certainly for benefits and new claims and change of claims, and we are around 12 days and I think 15 days. So compared to where we have been previously, that's very good. So and that, I'm just trying to find service plans where that was as well. I'll make a patch.
But it's kind of where does it slip back to now? I don't know we're going to get the answer, but it's an issue perhaps for Cabinet to be taking a decision with their eyes open rather than just nodding something through.
Paul and then Helen.
Can I just say, as a new boy on all of this, I found the lack of evidence to put it in context on a lot of these cuts very, very difficult. You just see a cut being proposed, it will have some effect, but seeing where we rank with other councils, seeing comparative data like that, is really crucial to understand what this really means. So I think that holds for many of the cuts that we're looking at tonight.
And if there's a drop in that particular one, is there an equality implication?
So the equality assessments is on page 128, and the performance indicators for times to process housing benefit is 8.67, and to process new claims is 13 days. And we're looking to still maintain that level, or reduce it only slightly. So that's the context to then give you some information back.
Can I just sort of throw into the mix here? We are proposing to wage up the collection rate on council tax from 98 to 98.5%, which is worth 400,000 to us roughly. Now, are you competent of that with these reductions in staffing?
Yes, we are, because we're currently achieving that.
You are
Yeah,
already.
so what we're doing is aligning the target with performance. We're still giving ourselves a little bit of manoeuvres to relatively anticipate creating a surplus. But yes, all we're doing is just moving the target up because we're already achieving it.
Are we okay with this one then? I mean, we've indicated we would like some comparative data, but subject to the assurances we've been given.
Looking at the quality impact assessment, I would confirm that the head of the service, the professional, if you like, is right. This is outcomes of one. And the only other thing I'd add to that, there are a number of vacancies within the teams, and in many ways the performance that is going to be achieved by taking out these posts may not have a material impact, although he has caveated it, and he put it, I think it's appropriate that he should, there may be an impact on performance, but that can be taken in context that there are a number of vacancies already existing.
That comes around.
No, I'm not arguing.
That strikes me as a really relevant piece of information that is not in the papers. And that can help us a lot, I would have thought, that sort of thing. But this say, so where does it say that, oh sorry,
It's in the detail of the impact
It's the
assessment.
impact
where
assessment.
does it say someone's away? Sorry,
It
sorry,
says
Darren,
where it can be
sorry,
achieved through natural wastage.
that's not the same. That's not the same at all. You're saying people are not there at the moment. Is that detailed here? Have I missed it?
No, it's just a bit of contextual information. Having spoken to the manager.
So the thing I thought we were referring to was about his quote as critic range.
No, I was referring to what I referred to.
I must say, it makes quite a difference to my attitude to know that we are currently, am I correct in saying, coping with this sort of hypothetical loss of 4 people that we haven't gotten now? Is that a fair summation? Yeah? So we're recognising the status quo? Yep.
I think that makes a difference.
Can we go on? The increase in investment income, that's see no problem. Well, it would be nice to wring a little bit more out of nigh on 60 million.
Agreed. But very difficult with the challenges ahead because we don't fully know where interest rates are going. And that can come to what the economy says.
And insurance, again, really see a problem with that one. Come on to page 15, if we can. The dividend from Chas, which we're all very chuffed with Chas. Can you just explain, is this a one-off or will that be then a repeating dividend each year?
It will be adding to the current dividend we receive from Chas, so it's
Right.
ongoing.
Right. Could we instead show a rise in dividend, or would you rather, it sounds like you're going cautiously and you don't want to promise it going up and up.
Certainly it's on the agenda, but it does depend on the growth plan for Chas and what they can do, and it's a very competitive market at this stage as well, so we're just keeping an eye on it. So certainly we have been increasing the dividend that we get from Chas on an ongoing basis, and it's not out of the realms of possibility that there will be, when we come back sort of next year, there'll be further dividends from them.
Yeah, okay, good. Well, with that one, let's come on, recharges to our own developments. Some particular issue with that? No?
Sorry, Chair, I'd probably
Yeah.
just say for Julie's benefit, Sophie Ellis is a director of Chas, so just to declare that as an interest, and Roger Kershaw is the director of Morden.
Oh, okay, thank you. Amend discretionary rate relief policy. By a lot, you're almost halving the amount, is that correct? Why reduce overall relief granted by 235k? Or I'm perhaps just not understanding the.
Because that's Merton's share of it, because if that's the cost to us, which is as part of the business rates retention. So that's our share of it. There it is, because the GLA bear half of that cost as well, and obviously the government do.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, I don't understand. Sorry, what are you doing? Those figures.
So we currently give out roughly 500,000 in rate relief, and the 75k is what we're proposing to reduce it by,
Yeah.
and that's Merton's share.
And that will have the effect of reducing it by 205 in total. Okay, thank you.
Let's go on. Increase in empty homes premium for long-term rental properties.
I think we've already agreed this one at council.
Oh, okay. Well, my question is, or my proposition really, as we are allowed to, can we increase this in future years to 200 and then 300%?
No, again, it's set out in statute what we can increase it by, so this is the maximum we can do.
So why have I read about higher rates? Is that proposed in legislation for future years, or have I just missed on that?
This is legislation that was passed recently, and I think we brought it to the council.
Yeah.
So I've not seen anything further, but if we can, then we would look to do so, but this is the maximum we can do at this stage.
All right. No quarrels with that.
I haven't read the same thing as you.
No. I thought about to declare a second hand, empty hand. Where did you see it? No. Where did you see this?
I don't disagree with you in principle, I just haven't seen it.
I'll have to go through your parents and disagree.
Yeah, check your phone and I'll look.
I'm not going to think about it now, so
Suddenly the topic does
let
it.
it go. Yes, and let's come on to improving the collection of overpayments. We've touched on this, and you've said that we can make attachments to earnings. Reading the detail of the impact assessment, though, it makes clear that we're not going to change anything we're doing now. So why do we, and we know that this is a very lumpy item and it's very, very hard to get it down. How are we confident?
So this is the provision that we're holding against the non-collection of those. So because we've seen an increase in the attachment of earnings, and we are seeing more recovery anyway through the government's real-time initiative, that's what we're now saying, and the provision that we're holding against it is too high. And our auditors, Roger was telling me earlier that they're also concerned about the level of the provision. So this is why it has no impact on any of the ways that we're currently doing something. It's just something that's working better than it had been previously, so therefore we can reduce the provision that's been set aside for it.
Oh, well, thank you for explaining that. It makes it more feasible. Coming on, page 17, small items for legal services. Any comments on those? No? Page 18.
Yes, I have a concern. CS 16, the closure of Morden Park House. I would actually like to push this for a recommendation to Cabinet. I won't have a discussion, obviously, but I think this is not a good decision. We're talking about a building that has also got strong emotional contact. A number of people have gone through with various ceremonies, from weddings to citizen ceremonies, etc. So a couple of questions. Also, of course, it could be bequeathed by the Garth family, and it could be a bit of a trail to that request. So my question would be initially, Caroline, how much money was spent on restoration that was spent to their estate, and how much has been spent on it recently?
I don't have to hand the figure of the restoration, but that was funded by English Heritage, and that agreement comes to an end in 21-22. As to how much has been spent recently, it has a very annual cycle of maintenance, because it is a Grade 2 listed building. And I think from some of what we spend on average, it's about £110,000 per annum. We need to do capital works and the road works as well. So 1.8 million from English Heritage with the funding for.
Do we know how popular it is for weddings and events? I'm just surprised an asset like that doesn't make money for us.
Does make money, but not sufficient money, is what we're saying, because it's not covering, there's an income budget for it, and then there's expenditure, additional expenditure. So that's what we're saying. And also we're losing some of the services we're able to provide from it. So as the nationality checking service is normally done through that, and that's what's ended. So that will have an impact on our income stream as well.
But there's no opportunity to look at other income streams from it. It just seems a fantastic facility. I'm amazed we can't make it work.
We have been exploring, but it's not generated. It's not a sustainable level of income that we need to offset the costs.
Well, the saving is stated as being £78,000 a year, but there is a very considerable amount of money being generated as they're not by weddings. It does say there's a significant loss of income generation. The service will no longer be able to offer marriage ceremonies or hold wedding fairs. So, I do have the number here, but I'd like officers to be able to tell us.
Chair, I believe the number of weddings held in the year around 900, and last year it booked on 180,000.
We had quite a useful paper on this from which, and in fact, it is very, very popular for weddings. There's no doubt about that.
To be absolutely clear, you're saying the place is running at a loss. If you look at an individual enterprise, it's costing more than it's getting in. Yeah?
Add the cost of running it, the staffing, the income it generates, plus the revenue and capital maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that includes all the incomes from exactly. So if it was an individual enterprise, it'd be running at a loss as a business.
My barns run a lot of times, and I raise the prices. You're telling me this is very popular. You're telling me you've got loads of weddings. Why aren't we charging more so we can make a profit? I just don't understand why we are assuming the market doesn't have more capacity to pay more.
There's a separate issue there, which is also the way in which other charges that are made against property come from central sources. So the budget might look like it's underwater, but the recharges that are made centrally for other services such as HR and legal and etc. They all have an impact. And so actually you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but you're not making a real saving. And that's the issue. Of all of the things that are coming to us today, I think this is one of the biggest hot potatoes. And I think it definitely is something that we should send back to the Cabinet and have a real good look, because I have been asking some questions. I don't yet have all the answers about the amount of money that's been spent on it, and it just doesn't make any sense. Also, I mean, the location of it, it's not a Canizzaro where that was hived off the park because it had easy access and so on and so forth. that the Morden Park House is really a pivotal building in that legacy that we received from that bequest from the Garth family. You know, when I think what angst there was over Morden Park playing fields extension and the possibility of letting girls have it, and the furore about what a betrayal of the Garth family bequest this was. This is dynamite, absolute dynamite.
Can I just add into the discussion the cost of not running it? If we take the Virgin Active site as a comparator, we are spending 314,000 a year on just securing that site.
I counted.
If you can remind me, Caroline, what is we're proposing to reduce that cost by demolishing it, are we not? Correct. Not, I would suggest, an option here. So I think it's been squatted before. I do remember that, and we had to invest in quite a considerable amount of security. I mean, once that starts, the costs are going to go up. I also would suggest that with the demolition of the old Morden Park Hall and the proposal to return that area to natural landscaping, there is scope, in fact, to greatly improve the setting of the Morden Park House. So, I'm not going to say, well, we are saying, aren't we, let's explore making a go of it, because just shuttering it is really a very bad option. It really is.
So I think Stout Hall, we didn't get rid of, we've still not got rid of properly. Spent millions on it now.
Chair, just taking up David's point earlier, what proportion of the expenditure?
Excuse me, could you speak up?
Just to take up David's point earlier, what proportion of expenditure is allocated to overheads or providing limited services provided for that?
Not determined, no, but we can look at getting that information back to you.
Okay, so I think again we can come back to it, but I'm Andrew clear that it really would be an ill-considered and short-sighted step just to shut it.
Go backwards to enforcement prosecutions on page 17 and just wondered how that would work in practice if you're reducing capacity by 50%, whether you get to a certain point and then not pursue any further ones, and does that have an effect then on the enforcement notices that we just we're not going to prosecute for compliance?
It would be up to the service departments to then determine that. So legal are saying that there would be a reduced offer, but in the event that the department still wanted to pursue certain cases, then if they find money from elsewhere, then they would still pursue.
So I'm glad we've gone back to that. Why does it only produce a saving of 20k?
That's the staff involved in it.
So we're not revisiting that one. You're happy with
That's
that
fine, yeah, I just
explanation?
wondered if
Yeah,
it
that's
was
right.
like, wondered it stopped in here, but then maybe.
Sorry. But it says staff implications none.
Because of the size of the legal partnership, the work would be reallocated amongst the staff, or the lack of work would be reallocated.
So where's the saving?
The budget that's then held is then spread across the other 4 buys.
come on to discuss the Chaucer Centre. Again, it's quite heavily used, not only for our annual Merton.TV conference as well.
Chairman, I have to put my hand up here and say, for several years, in the early part of this century, the Conservative group regularly suggested that it be closed. And so I couldn't possibly sit here tonight, even if I think differently today, because I know that Councillor McCabe and others would remember that.
Other views, other users of the Chaucer Centre.
So, just Merton Music Foundation,
Carol.
So I just want to draw your attention in the monitoring reports, we are actually forecasting a shortfall of income from this because we are getting reduced bookings, and certainly since we lost Saturn, they moved out from using that facility as their professional development centre. So it is not as heavily utilised as it was, and we don't see anything changing in the future.
So what's the, are we looking at its value as a site for redevelopment or what?
That certainly is a potential option. I think within the current local plan, there is the potential to change it to residential accommodation.
Okay.
What will happen to the, sorry.
And the other point is that the smart centre
Yeah,
is
okay.
located on that site, so there's some provision of meals, but
There's
how
no
could
change
that
to
be?
it.
No. But that could be, they would provide their own meals or what?
And that would be done through the school meals contract.
Okay. I've seen less exercise by this one. Okay. And Gifford House. Do we know where Gifford House is?
Yes. I have been there.
No problems with that one. I know there is overall a policy to relocate staff into the civic centre where we can, and that seems good, setting aside parking pressures. Is there a, well, obviously there must be, but we can accommodate certainly all of the staff proposed into the civic centre.
Well, certainly we've done some flexible mobile working, and we're looking to do further work around that. So that will certainly have a better impact to release more space in this building. Also, that there's certainly the legal services based across 5 boroughs, and they have touch points in each of those as well.
Okay.
So they have the facility to utilise those.
Seems fine then. Let's go on. Page 19. Oh.
Really, just a quick question. It's kind of like the easy saving. It doesn't seem to hurt anybody. But as we know, when we didn't spend any money on the civic centre, it eventually got to the point where we had to spend a lot of money on it. And there comes a crossover point where you can reduce these budgets and reduce them, take another 10% here and 20% there, but it doesn't. It actually ends up being a false economy. And so, I mean, really, I'm looking at both CS19 and CS20.
Yes.
again, I'm not seeing a proper impact statement. In fact, it's saying almost implies there's hardly any. But there is.
Caroline, do you want to comment on that?
Yes, so certainly we are looking to reduce the overall number of buildings that we have, and certainly with some of the asset management surveys that we're doing, we're trying to make sure that we get rid of the very expensive ones. And I suppose to draw your attention, I was just looking at current capital programme. So certainly we are looking to do work still to the Civic Centre, so we're doing some work on boilers. People might be pleased to hear about that, and also some air conditioning works as well. So we recognise, I think previously there had been a lack of focus on what the overall buildings were going to be and how we maintain them. So certainly there will be a limit as to how low we can go with the maintenance, and keeping an eye on that backlog around sort of priority, non-priority repairs. And this one will impact on staff, so we do know that there will be some unhappy staff, but we still think at this moment in time, with the release of certain buildings, that this should be a more easy thing to deliver, as you say, David, but with less impact at this moment in time.
And the Invest to Save programme, I noticed that still remains in the budget, but can you give us any indication of the kind of projects that would be postponed or lost altogether without this?
Sorry.
Good evening, Chair. So I'm Mark Cummins, Assistant Director of Infrastructure and Technology. So the Invest to Save, we've got two funding streams. One funding stream is the capital one, where we do a detailed business case, and every scheme that we agree or gets approved is done on the basis of it made back or better. The money in the revenue we use to tackle kind of small, low-level works such as thermostatic radiator valves, and making kind of adjustments, local adjustments that don't really have a sufficient payback in order to justify a kind of financial investment. So basically what we've done over the years, you've noticed in the Civic Centre and other buildings, we've been improving the local controls and making those small kind of adjustments, and we've got to a point really where we've run out of the low-level stuff that we can achieve that's beneficial. And really that reduction in the revenue budget is just a reflection of the fact that the buildings are now operating much more effectively and efficiently in terms of energy and heating.
So you feel you're saying, Mark, you've taken that pretty much as far as you can.
Absolutely, and what's left really are the big schemes, so the photovoltaic cells, the upgrading of the street lights, and those kind of big things that we can assess on a proper formal business case with those payback periods that we agree.
People happy with that? Yeah. It's down to Mark, we can no longer control the radiators in our...
What you'll notice, hopefully, in the Civic Centre over the next few weeks, we put some local controls in, so we looked at what came out of the staff survey in terms of comfort levels and then staff complaining of being cold. So as you look around the building, what you'll see is some local adjustments that have been installed to allow staff to adjust the heating up between a certain number of points. So actually it's just kind of addressing the concerns that were raised as part of the staff survey around comfort levels in the Civic Centre. So we are listening and we are making adjustments, which picks up on the Council of Williams' point as well. There's a lot of investment going on in the Civic Centre where we're locating staff back to the centre. So we've done the lifts, we've done the toilets and some meetings as well.
Good to know.
Oh well, so much.
Any questions about CS21 facilities management? Last one on the page.
So phase two builds on phase one, we've worked with a lot of the directorates to sort of look at the work styles, to integrate my teams that look after accommodation and IT to ensure that staff have got the most appropriate IT to support different ways of working. We're encouraging home working, mobile working, flexible working policies. Phase two, with some improvements that we're making to telephony systems and the way that we kind of deliver some of our wider IT systems, so using Scope for Business and other business opportunities. That we feel will give some great opportunities for staff to work differently. We've also got lots of shared services and we do partner work with other organisations. So it's about kind of integrating the IT with the accommodation. And as you asked earlier, Chair, around the spaces for South London in partnership, that's how we're going to generate the vacant space by asking people, encouraging people to work differently, more efficiently and more effectively. So phase 2 is just kind of building on phase 1. Nothing radical, but just different.
And we're still turning the page on facilities management. We can understand this one. Reduce the frequency of cleaning.
There's kind of might not seem like it's the most important one, but actually I think it's very important. It's a saving of £25,000 on a budget of 200 whatever, and 281,000, and yet we're reducing the service by 40%. So a 40% of the reduction in the budget, of the service, to achieve less than 10% reduction in the budget doesn't quite stack up to me. And I actually think it's quite important that we maintain a high standard of accommodation for our staff. And cleaning is important, especially in buildings like the Civic Centre where there are public areas. But, because it doesn't tell us, does this mean that the bins only get emptied 3 out of 5 days a week? Or what? What about the toilets? Do they get cleaned regularly? There's not enough here to make me feel comfortable that it looks innocent. I don't think it's something that I'm really very comfortable about.
So yes, it's a 10% cut mark. So what do we lose?
This saving's been put together primarily working collectively with the cleaning provider. So what we're doing is we're looking at the cleaning schedules, we're looking at the frequency of cleaning, and we feel that actually we can reduce down the frequency of the cleaning without impacting proportionately in terms of the cleaning of the building, if that makes sense. So by working in a different way, using their resources in a different way, we feel that actually we can reduce down the frequency, but not fully maintain the level that we've got now, but certainly it should be there to the extent you're concerned about. So toilets, we won't be reducing down the frequency of clean public toilets. The heavy use of those kind of high traffic areas will maintain that, but there are some areas of the building where actually, if I'm honest, you probably know to be in every 3 days, but it will make a huge amount of difference. But the kitchens, the places where staff are making meals and sitting down and eating, will still be maintained. It's about picking the functions that we do and looking at the frequency in which we do those.
Not everything from 5 to 3.
No, absolutely no.
Yes, I suppose that's where
Does that make sense?
Well, I mean,
Sorry.
Mark, I hear it saying that it says, implications all the way down, staffing implications. We know what it means, but it's almost implying there are no implications here. But there are implications, and it's for the standard of accommodation that we have for our staff. Our staff are a really valuable asset, and we spend millions and millions of pounds on them. I think to make £25,000 on something like this is it's a measly saving, but I think it's just sending the wrong message. Maybe others aren't with me on it, I don't know, but I want to make that point in public.
Can you tell us, we have a system whereby staff can report if they're dissatisfied with the cleaning of areas, or, such as what you expect to find in the toilets, for example, that people should.
So IFM team, there's a help desk, so just picking up the point on the toilets, there's a form or a regular check that's done on the toilets every hour. That's completed by the cleaning contractor. But also there are sort of signage and stuff on the internet where staff come across problems related to FM, cleaning, hard and soft services. They're reporting through. We've got a day cleaner, so actually where there are issues or spillage or problems in the toilet or a public area, we've got the resource there, quite immediately to deal with those pieces. This is really around about the fact that we're just trying to change the way that we use our current resources and work more efficiently in terms of providing cleaning.
I just wanted to say that,
John, I'll come to you after. So I can call and then
So what does go down from 5 to 3?
So there'll be parts of the open office cleaning where actually we'll do a kind of rotation. But as I said, the high traffic areas such as the kitchens and toilets will still be retained because we know historically that there's problems. We're not looking to create problems. We're not looking to reduce down the standards for staff. Part of my role is to make the office accommodation as fit for purpose as we can. I'm trying to accommodate more people here. We do see what staff and the management say in terms of the quality of service. We're not about providing a rubbish service. This is about just trying to use this is about just trying to provide and use the resources we've got more efficiently and effectively. And I say we've worked with the cleaning contractor to develop these kind of changing schedules. I genuinely don't feel that we're going to send a massive difference. And if I'm not correct, you're welcome to call me back and answer the question later.
Thank you. My question is just about the commitment to the new operating model. You seem confident, no reason to doubt that you've gone through it in detail and you're going to target different areas and find efficiencies. If it doesn't work out in the way that you've anticipated over the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, are we committed to that new operating model or can you reverse the operating model?
That savings out in 2021.
Yeah.
We always have the ability to vary contracts, and at the moment, I'd like to see how those work. We tendered a contract on a fairly regular basis. So I think.
I realise it's not tomorrow, but I'm speaking figuratively in testing.
So we'd be looking at the quality, we'd be looking at the specification when we go out and procure the service again, and if there were problems and issues that were evident from what we've picked up from customer feedback, then we'd be happy to adjust it up again where we felt it wasn't hitting the target that we needed.
So we wouldn't be committed to this new operating model for an X number of years and sort of have to live with the mistake.
Okay.
So I think we've exhausted that. Oh, John, sorry.
Make a comment.
Yes.
I just wondered if a reduction of £25,000 from a budget of what, 21,000, would that make a great deal of difference in the service provided by the cleaners? I don't think it would make a great difference. It's a small cut. So how much can they and that affect the overall service, cleaning service?
I know.
Well, I think what alarmed us, John, certainly alarmed Councillor Williams, was the headline reduced the cleaning from 5 to 3 times a week. But now we've dug into that a little bit more. I think you probably understand it better, and it's tailored to different areas of the building, different levels of use. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to. We carry on. Can I just ask on CS23, Client Financial Affairs, you can charge here either on the basis of assets held or on the basis of ability to pay. So it's the old asset rich, cash poor conundrum, isn't it? But can you give us just some feeling for who the clients are, how much money we're talking about, the circumstances on which we get involved?
So we've got the Client Financial Affairs team manage deputyships and appointeeships, and there's 2 different types of arrangement we have. At the moment, the council have done their key charges to clients for supporting that. So they take over ownership of a client's finances, they'll make all the payments of bills, and they'll basically administer the financial affairs on their behalf where they don't have the mental capacity to deal with that. At the moment, the council don't make any charges, and some of the clients have quite significant assets. And the thinking behind this saving chair is that actually it wouldn't seem the wrong thing to do where clients can afford to pay and they have sufficient assets, in some instances quite large amounts of assets, and that the council is kind of effect subsidising some of those where they actually can afford to pay. So we were intending to put in place a charging mechanism on a sliding scale based on the level of assets that the clients have.
And we're talking cash.
Assets.
Oh, right,
Yes.
okay. So not property or
So some have,
Absolutely, something of
Or- holdings of stocks and shares, or that you would take those in to the scale,
It's been done by other boroughs. There's kind of mixed feedback. Some boroughs do. Solicitors charge, so actually where clients have solicitors, commercial solicitors as deputies, they charge. So in fact the council are in some respects subsidising it.
So just pick up on that. You're describing people, and I'm thinking, won't some of these have deputies appointed by the Court of Protection to manage their finances? Or are these a different category of people? Or
That's the role that we fulfil. So
the Court of Protection is asking the council to do some of that role. And we're doing it for free, whereas the Court of Protection might appoint a firm of solicitors to do the same role, and they're charging that partner's rate.
And then ironically, when the client runs out of money, they invariably end up coming back to the local authority.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, why haven't we done that before?
what about dating?
Having spoken to a number of other boroughs, there's mixed views around the openness of doing that, but we feel that our client base is such that some of them are really quite wealthy individuals.
I mean, if they've secured damages for personal injury, then they can have assets of millions of pounds. You will be in trouble.
Well, just as, I mean, you would keep an eye on because I think some stockbrokers are charged quite rapaciously for managing large funds, so no 2 and 20 or.
So part of the role that the team fulfil, we have regular inspections and assessments from the Office for the Public Guardian. So they go out and visit commercial providers, but they also visit us fairly frequently, and they do tend to look at local authority exemplars of the practice. Actually, they'll be looking very hard at what we charge and why we're charging it. So we're very transparent in terms of what we're doing.
No, with those safeguards, that seems something we should be doing. Yeah. Okay, thank you. We've now got some HR items, CS 24. 24, 25, 26. Okay, so any questions? Do we understand CS 24, for example?
Well, I'm not entirely sure that I'm fully up to speed with exactly what's being delivered here. I'm not sure that I could use the word entertain, but what is the proposal? Aligning the service to make the necessary savings for 19 and 20. But in actual facts, it doesn't seem to me that in fact, it's a saving for 2021. We'll kick off. And secondly, therefore this is just a reduction because somebody's been told to make a reduction, rather than it's a way of realigning the service, through the operating model of it. Or is it? I don't know. That's That's what I'm reading here, so yeah, I would welcome a bit of extra explanation.
Kim,
Just where did you see it to 1920? Just trying to.
Sorry, am I looking the wrong line? 24. So number 24, page 20. The saving of 50,000 is in 2021.
The references are moved to quarterly reporting. Is that in fact a reduction on the present frequency? It's monthly at present, so it's moved to quarterly. So to put that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, words and figures. It says that it's
I think
aligning
it
the
might be
service
well, we would make any
maintenance.
savings, David, and we've had loads of services to offer our staff, so this is something that we've brought
Right, but look,
to us.
all right, I'm being picky perhaps. It says to make the savings for 1920, but in fact it's making them for 2021.
1920 overall savings targets that we set.
All right, let's move on to page 21. Well, this does link back, doesn't it, to our voluntary sector.
Yeah.
Reading the impact assessment, there are other providers for this. Are there not? Is that correct? On the sector payrolls.
Thanks, Chair. Looking at this previously, I suppose my question was if any assessment has been made of the cumulative impact of Charlie Sierra 03, 11 and 25, which all seem to have an impact on the voluntary sector and partnership groups. Now, each individually, I can sort of understand. I'm just wondering whether or not we've made a wider assessment as to the cumulative impact of hitting those three, especially given within a context of sort of the wider cuts that are happening to essential services through no fault of anyone in this room, and the fact that we may rely on partners and voluntary services to catch up some of that slack. And I'm slightly aware that there's 3, 11 and 25 might have a cumulative impact. I was wondering if anyone would be happy to speak to that.
Certainly I would say there's no cumulative impact on the charging for payroll services and the strategic partner programme. The organisations that receive their funding are completely different. This is something we flagged with the voluntary sector a number of years ago to say we're either looking to bring in charges or you get someone else to run your payroll, which can be cheaper for you, and certainly quite a few of the organisations have moved and got their own payroll providers in. So there are, I think, sort of 3 or 4 left that we're sort of looking at, and these are mainly the smaller organisations. So whereas the strategic partner programme, there's our very large ones, and some of the rent funding, again, are large ones.
Well, that makes quite a difference then, because I'm aware, for example, that Women and Guild provide this kind of service. So you are saying you've just got a residue now,
Yes.
and you really like to encourage them to migrate elsewhere.
Preferably, but if they want to stay with us, then this is what Keaton is charging us, so therefore we want to sort of bear that cost.
Yeah, no, it's a totally open question.
Well, thanks for the explanation on that. Let's move on. Procurement savings. I did read the narrative. How confident can you be of delivering these? It's a very round number. I know it's some years out, but I do wonder whether the outsourcing sector will be hardening its heart against such pleas.
This is something that we're working with currently with Kingston and with Sutton, and see also if we can join with Wandsworth and Richmond. So it's work in progress to be able to see.
I thought you were going to ask, well, on what basis it is 120,000? Why is it not 140 or 90 or 200? I mean, it just seems like a number that's plucked out of the air. So I kind of seek a bit of reassurance that it has some basis in reality, that it's a percentage of something like that, or where does 120,000 come from?
It comes from Kingston and part of the cost of running the service.
Which service?
Shared HR service.
Oh, shared. Right. So it's another they provide. So it's telling us to move on to the next section. Ian Mum's phone always rang. He said it was Carol telling him to come out.
I expect more than
Okay.
No, I'm happy enough for that.
Yeah,
Councillor
good,
Kingston.
good. Yes,
It's
yes.
good that don't control council. So that's an honest number.
Now, the next one, CS27, is quite important to us. Without being too parochial, and I would, we have seen Scrutiny merge with Democratic Services into one head of service post. This is a further step to merge electoral services. I'm certainly very keen or anxious, in fact, to. I want to take Julia out of this particular discussion because it's not fair to involve her, but we do need somebody with scrutiny experience in that role. Absolutely essential. Let's go ahead.
Presumably the role of electoral services is incredibly heavy at certain points in the political calendar, where presumably scrutiny will be on the back burner throughout that period, would it not?
Yeah, it's a little box and cox now, yeah. Is that the case?
But then with elections, it's always all hands to the pump, as it were. And when it's a planned election, it doesn't normally fall within some of the municipal calendar items, should we say. But there may be instances where it does, and that's certainly something we would need to look at the structure underneath to make sure there is support.
Can I just add that staffing the team, the wider democracy services team do already help electoral services at times of elections.
So, I mean, we'll keep a very close eye on that. And I think I would like us to signal as the Commission that we really do see scrutiny experience and expertise is absolutely key to whoever is going to fill that role.
With recent legislation on scrutiny, the changes to scrutiny, are we anticipating it to be a more to do under scrutiny under the new legislation?
We haven't had that discussion.
Interestingly, the department have postponed the publication of their new guidance, as you know. Yeah. So. Okay, let's move on. Can I take CS28? Can I ask why we can't speed this up? Go cashless overnight on small amounts, but I just think we could accelerate the rate at which we bring them in.
We have to work closely with the parking contract, which has also been let, and also plan the approach, because some of our residents and users of the service still like to pay cash, so it's a phased
to be paid their wages in cash, didn't they? But to an extent, you have to force the base on these things.
But that was still phased in over a much longer period of time, but we're looking to phase these out. But we are looking at it if we can speed it up, but it does depend on the new contract as well.
All right. We're not finished yet. Page 33 next. Can I point out the first two of these, CS11 and 13, are in fact, I'm going to call them failed savings, or savings that didn't go ahead. So, whilst there are lessons to be learned, we don't need to spend a lot of time scrutinising them. Come on to number 1 at the bottom of the replacement savings here, increase income from legal services. Any questions? Are you happy? Hello.
Where does the court fee, increase in income from court fees come from?
That's what the courts will determine we win as fees if we win a case.
But doesn't that stay within the court system? You get your costs, but
The courts can assign us fees which we get. So the recent Guns case, we got some court fees back. So it's those fees that you say the court determines what fees we get back. It may not be court fees, but the court will determine the fees.
Sorry.
Can we talk about mics, please? Helen. Thank you.
It's really just a follow on. I'm trying to understand. I appreciate that when you sort of win a case and you can ask for your costs get afraid the word is tax. Somebody actually looks through the costs and says, yes, that's reasonable or not reasonable. And I suppose there's a kind of a bit of a scale of charges. Is this a saving that's in our hands, or is it in somebody else's hands?
This is at the moment we are seeing an increase in Section 106 and property fees, so certainly we are charging more appropriate costs, certainly to property developers for fees that we incur on behalf of that, and then also fees that we win at court.
Okay. Let's go on. Next page, basic saving number 2. Reduction in the contribution to insurance fund. I assume we're being fairly conservative here in deciding we can release this, is that?
Okay. Yes, we have an actuarial valuation of our insurance fund, which is done by an external agency looking at our risks and liabilities and what have you. And it's also something our auditors comment on. It's clear that we current provision is well in excess of the need of what our advisors are saying we should set aside for it. So we are able to reduce our contribution to the fund by this. There is another factor, of course, that some of our risks are reducing services as well, and therefore our risk profile changes going forward. We also some of those risks towards the services. So this is well within the recommendations of our insurance advisor and indeed our external auditors.
So the outsourcers pick up the liability then? Increase in income from enforcement. We might like to note that all of these are replacement savings and they are on top of other savings we've been looking at, or other additional sources of revenue in future years. So whilst I don't have a problem with that, If I come on to the next one, increase in investment income from the Treasury, we've already penciled in smaller sums, or, but you think you can ratchet it up for the year ahead?
Yes, I think it just reflects our prevailing view of the market, where it's going to go, where we currently are, and we believe that this is achievable. So within the parameters which is set out in the Treasury Management strategy, and it's just our ability to take advantage of these extra opportunities to enable us to raise the same. This is well within our parameters.
And would it be the case that we actually do tend to overachieve a little bit on Treasury income?
We've had to reduce it, budget's gone by, because it was saying we need to reflect the prevailing rate, which we're all aware of, and the rate. Just to illustrate, on average, we're getting about 0.8, 0.9% on our considerable cash balance. That's not a massive rate, it's the best rates we can achieve, but we do anticipate the way the market's going, that those rates are likely to increase. Of course, we have external advisors who advise us on that. Of course, apologies for using the word, Brexit might come in and create some challenges, but we think this is a prudent assessment of what we'll be able to get. You think about the fact that on average we have 80 to 100 million. 30,000.
And we're going to squeeze a little bit of early dividend from Chas too? Yes? No? Okay. Sally?
Just about the dividends from Chas, are they fed into the budget or are they compounded interest?
They are fed into the budget, so this is a further, unfortunately we've sort of taken the new ones first, so we had 40,000 extra for 1920, and then the 400 we're talking about is a further 400 on top of 40, on top of what's already in the base budget.
Alright, and legal services, sounds like a keep. So relative to the baseline budget, that's a small reduction. No problems on that? Page 36. Okay. Thank you very much. Go on to page
45.
45. We're being asked to effectively approve the deferral of these savings. I don't really have a quarrel with that if it's necessary. Are we okay with that? So these two plus on page 46. And just to note, there are a couple of savings we discussed before on page 49 and 50, but we agreed those that are earlier in November, so don't see any need to revisit them. So, good. Well, that's the line by line stuff. We flagged a couple of things there which we might want to come back to at the end to say we don't see that. We see good reasons not to proceed with those particular two savings relating to the rent, to ABSC and CAB, and also the future of Morden Park House. But if I can now, I've just lost my right chair, so point to you. Are you happy to just give us a line or two, no more actually, on your information? Put the mic on for us.
I think everybody's got it in
Yeah,
the
we have.
additional, and just to reiterate that we went through the savings put forward to sustainable communities and scrutinised them and agreed with them. So just with our own analysis will come up to scrutiny. I don't really have any more to add to that.
And we've got the reference.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think this brief summary speaks for itself. I have nothing to add.
And just while you chuck your paper study, can I just say actually, one thing I found particularly useful from that discussion was some really quite imaginative and hopeful schemes about monitoring older people using technology to monitor so something that both saves money and provides them with a safer environment, which is good.
Where did you get that from?
Not here.
We attended a meeting.
I've attended all the meetings, but I'm making the point that the discussion can bring out an awful lot that ain't in here.
Well, that's going to be one of my points. They're so difficult in these summaries. What use are they? Because they don't give us things like that. Or perhaps help us with other things. All we're told is there were motions that were defeated, we're not told what they were. We're told very little in these summaries, and do they actually help us as a committee?
If this committee would like me to produce all the papers that the scrutiny panel produced and considered, then that's fine, but I think that's not the role of this committee. My view is that in Peter's case, he attended the meeting, he's particularly interested, members can do that if they wish, but I'm not proposing that we should rehearse a meeting in here that we've already had. Otherwise, there's no point in having a scrutiny.
I agree completely. I don't see all the things. I'm just saying, do these paragraphs actually help? Or are they just telling us well, nothing seems to me?
Well, I think one of the things that they are telling you is that some of the cuts that we made, officers were actually saying that even if they weren't required to make cuts, these would be things that they were doing, and I think that's makes it certainly easy for members to feel comfortable when such decisions are being made. I hope you picked up the flavour of that discussion from my brief notes.
I mean, I will say, Paul, that I've always said that I don't want to mastermind or overturn the recommendations from the panels. I like them to be autonomous. But it's just to we need for information, I think, to know what's been going on. David, you wanted to.
Well, I was going to make a sort of similar point, that is, the reports that come to this committee from the scrutiny panels are very, very thin. Let's be polite, really. We had a particular example last year of healthier communities where I think the panel's report was about 20 words, but it didn't give any flavour for what had actually transpired and what the character of the debate was. And so I suppose we are reduced a bit, particularly as opposition members, to saying, we will have to revisit at the budget meeting itself some of the issues that we raised at the panels.
Are you suggesting we should have the minutes?
Well, actually, that's what happened last year. What ONS did last year in respect of health and communities in particular was that the minutes of the panel be sent direct to Cabinet, so that the Cabinet had the benefit of seeing what had been said at the panels. Now, we all live in the real world, and we know that some decisions have already been made and lines closed. But it is at least slightly more transparent in the process, end to end, for Cabinet to know what was said at the panel meetings. Well, in fairness, you know, yes, you do, Councillor Allison, and I appreciate that. But it's just in terms of the mechanism seems to be, seems to fail the objective. Because I don't think it's the best one in the world, whoever wrote it, you know, aside from a tiny bit of A4, it doesn't really reflect what's been going on in the panels.
Carol, you want to? Carol.
I suppose I was just going to say that these are the outcome of the discussion and what the panel thought was relevant to come back here. If you think the panel didn't do that, that's certainly something we can encourage for next time when we do go through scrutiny. But this is what the panel determined was the feedback. So in some instances, there's very little that the panel actually wanted to formally refer back, which is why you then have some comments on the discussion. That's why I think in some other areas minutes were actually provided, but this is the panel themselves determining almost what comes back here. And there's a summation at the end of the panel, like there will be, I'm assuming tonight. What does the Commission want to refer back to Cabinet? That's what will then appear in the Cabinet papers for the 18th of February.
So just to,
So that seems to be a slightly marginally different point to what Paul was saying, which you were just saying, can you have the minutes produced in time to arrive at this scrutiny panel, which seems a lot, you know, it doesn't... Sorry, mate.
So I'm just pointing out that there can't be the agreed minutes because the committee hasn't met to agree them.
Yeah, you know, I'm just saying that's
so either way, they would be the views of the chair.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's what's been provided is the views of the chair.
take one from Paul and then I want to move on. Somebody's still got their microphone.
Yeah.
You know, because one of the minutes are available, and there are things that come out there which aren't in the Sustainable Communities Summary, and the Sustainable Communities Summary is also just by the chair. The fact that we have minutes, okay, and agreements, still allow us to have certain audit trails on certain things we might want to question. Now, is it now the time to air my concern that comes from the minutes or not?
Can we take it at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I make it quickly? As someone that actually sits on the Sustainable Communities panel, this in no way reflects the discussions we had. There was motions put down to challenge the parking charges. It's not reflected in there. There were motions put down with regards to the equality report being just something but a front to increase parking or tax Wimbledon. And it doesn't reflect anything. This is not the discussion we had.
Okay, I think there are two distinct roles to be served here. One is the minutes of the meeting, which should obviously record every motion first, and will do. The other is the reference that the panel at the end decides it wants to make back to Cabinet. Now, in the case of Sustainable Communities, there was a formally recorded reference. In the case of the other two panels, there was not. And I think we can make a clear distinction between the discussion that went on and the summation and the reference back to Cabinet, which is going to be quite a brief paragraph or two. If we could perhaps in future years have a process at the end whereby we do say this is a reference we want to see going back to Cabinet, or alternatively you can decide you don't want to make any reference back. but it's not about, it's not a sort of black and white, we endorse this saving, we don't endorse that one. I think it is the role of the panels to warn if you have concerns about savings. And this, there is several failed savings are recorded in here, and it is the role of scrutiny, I think, to look very carefully and to caution if you think there are difficulties about achieving certain savings, then that is our role to provide challenge. So I would like that to be something that we perhaps pay more attention to in future years, actually. I don't. Okay. Let me. Enough said. Sally, can I ask you to speak on see what you mean?
Yes, certainly. I mean, the savings cuts, whichever word you use, they're needed as a result of our funding from central government being cut. So they are necessary. We did have a couple of motions put forward which were not accepted, and the director did answer specifically about one of them, saying there was no more funding in that pot of money that fed into the one that was asked, and there was no way she could transfer any money into it. So I think the officers did make careful explanations of why savings had to be made, and it's the same as our own budget at home. If we overspend our own budget, we could lose where we live. If we overspend our council budget, we could lose the council. So it's in line with the money we receive that this happens. And I think officers have looked at it very carefully, and in an ideal world, we'd like more money instead of less, really.
I'll allow David and Paul.
Well, I mean, I've been on the council a long time, and I don't think there's ever been a year under any political colour of administration here, or political or government, where councils haven't said that they'd like to have some more money. When it comes to specific savings, then we are making choices, and we're prioritising. And so, for example, because we're talking CYP, really quite a small sum of money for the Merton Music Foundation is money that I would consider as being very well spent. And I don't know why it is that Labour have constantly attacked MMF. Seem to want to take the glory and occupy seats in the Royal Box at the Royal Albert Hall where there's a concert. But for the sums of money that would enable that service to continue as is are small in comparison with the overall budget of the council. And you know, I could make a sort of a silly point, but to make the point that you could reduce a half FTE in the comms team, and I think the money that will be saved will be better spent on MMF. So let's not just sort of delude ourselves. All we're doing here tonight is with a heavy heart because government aren't giving us enough money. That there is more than a grain of truth in that, but equally we are making our own priorities.
Okay.
I've just got to take issue, David. I don't want to turn this into a party political thing, but saying that councils have always wanted more money is to belittle the specific circumstances that we're in at the moment. You know, never before, not in sort of my living memory, has there been a point where the NAO have shown 49.1% cuts, where we've had a council go under. You know, this is a very specific circumstances, and if you can remember from your past where we've had this kind of financial pressure is imposed, please tell us, but let's not belittle the circumstances by saying it's the same every year.
Okay, Paul?
Can I just say, I think scrutiny breaks down when it turns into political positions. What I'm struggling to understand is what our role is here. We have the three scrutiny commissions, panels who have reported to us. Are they reporting to us for us to do something or not? Because otherwise, I don't know why it's coming to us at all, really.
Okay.
So I need to.
That's my interpretation of what we do. In the past, I think it was a rather parent-child relationship. I thought it was wrong. I want to be much more a relationship between equals. So I don't want to revisit the discussion at the panels, but I equally feel that we should, as indeed the composition of the commission includes the chairs. We should know what's going on because we do have responsibility for the overall picture. But I'm now going to recommend to members that we effectively passport through the referrals from the panels to Cabinet. Okay? Good.
Yeah, just really underlining the point that obviously when we get to Budget Council, those things which we've raised in the panels, we may well raise again.
I suppose we didn't.
I'm concerned about the legality of one of the things and also about the approach to savings just based on reviews. Is that not something we should air here? Because that's a scrutiny issue. It's not a political issue for the council meeting. I see those as scrutiny points. Is that not right?
Yes. So you're really saying. I'm just wondering what I want to take this for. Whether I want to continue with the.
Well, it's down to the role of scrutiny. It's down to the role of scrutiny on what our role is as scrutineers. And if one sees something that one thinks has legal implications for the council, I think that's something we should raise at scrutiny. And because it's not been raised by the summary, the chair's summary, doesn't mean it's something we shouldn't raise. I don't think it's suitable for a discussion, a politicised discussion at council meeting. This is
okay.
Scrutiny.
So this is an item in one particular panel that concerns you as to its legality?
I'm concerned with legality. A decision to impose parking charges without any evidence with regard to how it will lower air pollution. It looks simply like an attempt to raise revenue, and that's unlawful. I think the council risks legal challenge unless it addresses that problem.
Well, indeed, the council will be debating, I'm sure, just that, will it not, at the next full council meeting. But I'm looking more for an opinion on legality rather to wrap this one up.
I think when it came to scrutiny, I thought
Microphone, please.
I sought legal advice,
Yes, okay.
and Julia was there who read out the rules that it was within the budget policy framework. It was just coincidental that it came to, it is at the budget. It's not part of the budget planning process. It was something that was going to come through the thing, and the merits of that policy were what was discussed, whether as a consequence there may be some income from it. Is not what was being discussed. It was the merits of it on air quality and the health implications on it, which is what we were discussing at the time.
Yeah, I do recall that was all pretty thoroughly aired at the time, actually, and we had the legal role.
I think, Chair, that point is not what Councillor Cole was referring to. That was the process with regards to the motion that the Liberal Democrats, Councillor Fairclough put down to refer it to Council. What Councillor Cole is referring to is that the tax raising, the car parking charges are actually a tax raising measure where there is no evidence whatsoever. Indeed, the air quality report demonstrated nothing to breach the health gap from the east and the west of the borough, which currently stands at 9 years. So absolutely, I think that there is a legality issue here. In that, the air quality report is being used as a front to raise taxes with no evidence.
I can take Caroline's comments, then I'll get up
I was just going to say, because there was the motion, I think, from the panel back to Cabinet, which referred to the additional information that was going to be made available before we went into consultation with the community and the public on the charges. So I just wanted to draw attention to that, which may address your concerns as to about it was not a budget process, it's not additional income, it is a responsible. So that additional information was part of the process.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I'm going to go to the capital programme. Is that right? Yes, that's what we're doing. If you have questions on particular items, do say which page you're referring to. And start on. Future capital programme for corporate services on page 53. And certainly the big items for us are the funding, next page, for the housing company, some 22 million, is that in the current year? But also expenditure, if I can ask about this, on the customer contact programme. We've got 1.9 million penciled in for 21-22. Let me be blunt here. So there are improvements you would like to see to the public-facing aspect, the website. Are we going to see those before then?
Certainly you can see there is 250,000 in for 1920. We need to do some other changes to the overall system, so there will be a freeze, and then we'll look to do some further improvements, but certainly the website is a priority for us to make some quick changes.
For next year?
This year.
For this year? Okay, yeah.
Well, I was going to make a point about the overall capital programme and the costs of it, and I suppose probably page 61 is a help. But you see there for 1920 in the second box, set of boxes, sorry about this, 48 million pounds and a bit. Scheduled. Some of that comes from other contributions. But it's a great deal of money, and the revenue implications for spending 48 million are, I understand, 10.45 million pounds. Now, we've been talking a little earlier about 20-odd thousand here and 30,000 there. And there is the potential, because we see slippage in the programme, and I understand that the fact that we know there's slippage has been accounted for in how much revenue provision is actually made. But these are very big numbers, and we know from those of us who've seen these kind of reports on a regular basis that the capital programme slips several £1 million, and that means several £100,000 of potential savings. And I just think that acknowledging what has just been said by Councillor Pritchard, that if things are very tight, then we needn't be in a position where we make things worse for ourselves by having an overinflated capital programme. Therefore, I'd like to see that this Commission recommend to the Cabinet they have another look at rephasing the capital programme and trying to shave at least 10% of it, because that will make a difference. So we rephase it from year to year, and I think we have to actually look again at all of the projects we have in the capital programme and ask ourselves the question, are these the right things to be prioritising?
We use the term slippage. It suggests or infers that it's accidental. Make a comment on that.
I suppose just with the nature of some of the schemes that we have, particularly these are schemes which will go over 3 or 4 years, it is very difficult to actually ascertain when you're going to spend the money. If you take the example of Morden Leisure Centre, which is open this year, but the actual timing and phasing of payments that the contractor invoiced us for was not as we originally planned, and also depending on some of the things that they found when they were doing the works did cause some complications. So slippage is a terminology that we use because it is a multi-year programme, and therefore when you look on page 60 you see the proposed scheme that we've got. We are not funding at that level because we try and challenge, we do challenge all departments and all managers as to their programme and their profiles. Clearly the plan is there, but circumstances happen and various things do impact on the delays of when those monies are going to come through, so which we allow for to a certain extent and on page 61 with that slippage. So we do not fund the programme at the level that we expect to spend, because just we know from circumstances we won't do that, and therefore we would be making additional costs which we would not bear, and therefore we know that we cannot afford that. So there is an element of challenging people and building in some assumptions around slippage, just because we know that will happen, but we cannot get service managers to actually sign up to that, and indeed sometimes slippages happen which is beyond their control. There are some annual programmes which are repairs to highways, footways, repairs to bridges and some of the leisure centre works, and indeed some of the refurbishment works that we do to the Civic Centre buildings, which do not slip, but some of the major multi-year programmes will slip.
I still think we should be considering asking Cabinet to revisit the capital programme with a view to reducing it, shaving it by 10%.
And just to be clear, that is reducing the number of projects rather than looking to reduce the impact on the revenue.
That would be one implication. Another would be to see whether you can deliberately slip it from one year to the next.
Which reduces the impact on the revenue
Yes.
requirement. Yeah. So it's two things.
Accepting what you're saying, is this the right step to actually use just the financial task group to do a deep dive and understand the capital project first before we ask anyone to redo anything?
That's certainly a possibility. I think we should. Can we come back to that one at the end? Decide whether it's.
I don't think that's a bad idea. The trouble is, these numbers are going into the budget, and so the task group's not going to need to do it. You can certainly look at it for future years.
Come back to it. Thanks.
Can I just ask what impact would it have on setting the balance budget of the
The 1920 it would have little impact. It just depends on some of the schemes, if they're already committed in 1920, if you then want to take 10% off, so that gives you less wiggle room to be able to do that. So certainly quite a few of the schools projects are committed, and therefore to be able to take 10% off that would be difficult, and therefore it's there where you find that 10% from.
John, just to give us a figure, servicing those debts is cost about 14.
It's on page 46.
I've got it now.
So you see
So
that
just under 10 million
cost,
for next year.
10 million rising to 13.7.
It's a lot of money, isn't it? The suggestion of taking a haircut of 10%, as it were, is maybe it's not achievable, but I just think that we should keep saying to Cabinet, have a look at this again. You know, you're telling us money's tight, and yet we've got really quite a big capital programme here, which has huge revenue implications. We're making cuts of 10 and 20,000 pounds, which has a massive impact, let's say, on that Merton Music Foundation. And yet, at the stroke of a pen, we might be able to save significantly more than that.
Do you want to come back? Would we consider that at the end?
Well, I'd like us to.
Yeah, okay. Come on.
Sorry, if I could just say, for example, approximately half of the expenditure in 1920s on the housing company. And then if you see on page 46, we're actually looking to get some income in on the loan. So depending on what you cut could have further implications on revenue. So it's not as simple as taking 10% off the capital programme. There will be other things that will then play in. And indeed, if you take 10% off the highways and footways, then that will increase reactive repairs and potential insurance costs. So that it's not as simple as doing just 10%. So believe me, we've sat through very painful meetings on this, so I know some detail, but just to give you that comfort to a certain extent that we do push quite hard, and also to do 10% cabinet.
On the other hand, deciding not to de-seal Woman Park Lake.
Then we would lose the facility because you wouldn't be able to sail on it, because the boats would get stuck and not back themselves.
Is it?
So that's the consequence of that.
That was such a good splash.
That's kind of the point, isn't it? Like, you come up with a percentage figure that's completely abstract. Unless you specify which capital project you don't want to go ahead, it doesn't mean anything, does it?
Well, let's not pursue that, but I think we'd be inviting Cabinet to go through and say, well, perhaps this one is discretionary rather than...
Which of the capital projects do you want to go ahead, so that I can take it back to Cabinet and understand which of the capital projects you as a Commission don't think are a good idea? Here's your opportunity to explore each of them, and you're not exploring each of them, you're just saying, give us a figure of 10%, but you have no idea what the consequences of that are going to be, and you're not using this opportunity to do that.
I know the Cabinet member always likes to try and push us to making decisions that would be convenient for the Cabinet, but that's not the role of the Overview and Scrutiny Commission.
Let's
If I may, there is something about the fact that earlier we were slightly complaining about these abstract numbers without an evidence base around them. Now we're looking at the number. I don't think the majority of people, I bow to the fact that you've done this many times, but I don't think the majority of these people, the people around this would be happy saying, let's do a cut of X amount.
Okay.
I think we would need to look into it in detail, either now or later.
I hear what members say. I use the figure of 10% figuratively, but just to sort of energise a serious look. I wouldn't expect that Cabinet could find anything like that, but I think and if it makes it easier to take the words 10% out, then I'm happy to do that. But I would like Cabinet to have another look at the capital programme and see if it could be reduced meaningfully, where we use a lot nowadays, isn't it? If it could be reduced meaningfully to save some revenue implications.
I must say, I think the APPENDIX is probably the place where we could get into a lot more depth on this.
Yeah.
My suggestion about Wimber Park Lake was in fact quite sincere, that Caroline's rebutted. I'm sure when I first became a councillor, desilting was costed at 40,000. So, other questions about the capital programme? No. Okay, well let's come back to the reference we like to make to Cabinet. I'd like to preface this, let me make a suggestion if I may, with just having looking at something the LGA have published just a couple of days ago, in fact. And I quote, "It is disappointing that the government has not used the settlement to provide further desperately needed resources for councils next year. It is vital that the government provides new funding for all councils in the final settlement and uses the 2019 spending review to deliver truly sustainable funding for local government." So I think that's setting the scene that the burdens have become too great for us to manage within the resources of local taxation, given that the LGA now all sings from the same hymn sheet. I think we can invite Cabinet just to support the LGA in that submission, to just lobbying for that need for a sensible basis for funding, which we are sorely missing at the moment. That's point one. Now let's come to the specific savings we've picked out. The inadvisability. Sorry, we're going to need the references to these. There are really only the proposal to charge rent to MBSC and the CAB. I think the discussion around that raised severe worries as to how they would respond and react and what ramifications would be. So I'm going to propose that that should not go forward at this stage. The second one is Morden Park House, and we discussed that pretty thoroughly, and I didn't at the time they used jewel in the crown, did I? But it is an asset. We've spent a lot of money making it a more beautiful asset, even within the last few months. So it seems to take a decision now to as I say, shut it up. Let's see again if we can't make it work. Let's also be realistic about the extent to which some of those costs are effectively cross charges. So my proposal, we don't proceed with that savings. The third one is really just to set down a marker that if Scrutiny and electoral services are to be merged, then it is absolutely vital that the person who takes the head of service role there does have Scrutiny experience and an understanding of what we're trying to do, because There are other boroughs where scrutiny is a bit of a false whip, and that's not the case here, and I would like to see it become so.
Sorry, and forgive my ignorance here. Like you, the ones that stuck out, CSA 3, 11 and 16 for me, the board and all, the discretionary rate relief. What I don't understand is what you're saying you don't want it to go ahead, right? Or you're going back to. Now, actually we're just asking them to call it in to explain it further? Or what exactly specifically are we asking Cabinet to do? Are we asking them to explain it to us in further? Because if so, they're hearing that, you know, the people are hearing now and can explain it, can go over, in my case, 3, 11 and 16 again. What are we asking of them? Rather than just saying we don't want it to go ahead, what are we saying to them? Go do your homeworks, find different cuts, or just can you explain this in further depth?
It's the former really. Let me say first of all, we're not doing anything that prevents us or would jeopardise our ability to set a balanced budget for next year. So we're looking at savings proposed 2-3 years hence, can't remember. And we are saying that yes, can you find alternative savings? Okay. Judah advises me that the wording I have used in the past, we have used in the past, is invite Cabinet to reconsider. We're happy with that form of wording. Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah. So those are the specifics. Beyond that, the thought I had was that in the absence of any more sustainable funding from local government, can we invite Cabinet to run on a default scenario whereby, in fact, the 2.99% limit plus 2% adult social care funding will continue? Thus, we could look at increases of the order of 5%. Through the implementation.
Sorry, what exactly are you suggesting there? That we assume a higher rate of taxation even beyond the point at which we're allowed to tax it?
Yes. So presently we are limited to assuming 2%.
Having looked at some of the initial reports from Northampton, and that's why they went under over optimistic planning and so forth, I think it'd be wrong for us to assume an increase in revenue that isn't legislated for.
Yeah, I think that has to be right, and also because you're introducing that at this point in the proceedings, that needs some careful thought, doesn't it? We know what we're dealing with for 1920. I think trying to anticipate potential tax rises down the line. We don't have that information, as Bridget said. We're going a step too far.
I accept that then. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that the government assumption of what our income would be will then also increase, and likely, like as has happened, when they increased the amount that we raised from 1.99 to 2.99, they reduced what we get as a result. So if we start assuming that our income is higher, they'll start assuming that as well and reduce the amount that we get.
Yeah, but I think we've reached the point where we're not getting anything from central government. Last 5 million for 1920, and then
in RSG.
That's it. In terms of RSG, yes.
Get lots of other money from central government. That's
all right.
That's what you're relating to, what you're referring to.
Do we want to make any further additions back for our?
Could I pursue the capital programme? I like Councillor Pritchard's idea of having a deep dive on the capital programme at Financial Monitoring Task Group. I just wonder if there's a way of wording something that says, the Commission is concerned about the level and funding consequences of the capital programme, and proposes to do a deep dive at the Financial Monitoring Task Group. But in the meantime, ahead of the budget, we would welcome Cabinet just looking at.
Can we create a neutral term then, which is like we want more information on the capital project? You know what I mean? Because I'm not concerned because the truth is I'd like more information. I'm happy to go along with that, but let's just not make it a negative or positive statement.
Yeah, I just really like Cabinet to be aware of our general level of concern, and invite them to look again at the capital programme before finalising the budget. They choose to do nothing, but it just sends a message.
In neutral term, I always have a problem. Speaking frankly, it seems to me as if what we're saying is go back, do more work on something which you've already done work on, but please come up with a different solution because we don't like this solution, but we don't know why. Okay? Now, all that seems a little bit odd to me. So what I prefer to see is us look at it through the Financial Management Task Group and decide what actually we do and don't like, and then refer, especially as many of these capital projects are a few years in the future. I wouldn't like to I don't like to tell people to redo their work or to lodge concerns about people's work unless I know and see that there's something that I dislike, to be honest.
How about phrasing like sorry.
Just have a discussion with Roger as to whether it would be useful to actually separate out the costs of the current capital programme and then the costs of the future capital programme. Because some of these costs are increasing because of previous decisions that have already been made. So you need to be aware of the consequences of that and how much the additional programme and future programme is costing you. So certainly we will look to separate that out in the paper which comes back to Cabinet, which then may assist some of the discussions you may or may not want to know.
How about interrogate the future capital programme with rigour? Not saying more rigour, but is that a...
Why don't you use the same wording that you use earlier on? For the revenue.
No, we're not asking them to review it, are we? We're just asking them to maintain. Oh, Julie, I'm looking at this now. Consider the future capital programme. Reconsider the future.
And associated financial implications.
Good.
Chair. Sorry, I might find that hard to explain to my colleagues on the cabinet if the same word is used, because I think that what you're saying is that a couple of the savings you want us to reconsider because you don't agree with them. This is you personally. Whereas the capital budget, you're not saying that you don't agree with it. You are saying you want it to have, you'd like us to have a fresh look at it. If you use exactly the same wording, then it may appear that you're indicating that you're rejecting you personally appear to be rejecting the one or two of the savings. If you use the same word, you will appear to be rejecting the capital budget as well.
Sort of reconsider to review.
peer review.
Yes,
I think that I'm the only one here from Cabinet. No, I'm not. Sorry. And I don't want to have to present the full minutes to everybody. So if the exact same wording is used, then it appears that the exact same weighting is being placed on it. And quite clearly, from the nature of this conversation, it is not the same weighting you're placing on it.
If you use re-review, I think that helps.
yes.
Read out what,
Yes,
what would that have?
What are the
so taking account of what Caroline has said, actually.
So what I've got, the Commission would like more information about the level and funding consequences of the capital programme and proposes that the financial monitoring task group should carry out a deep dive review. In the meantime, the Commission would like Cabinet to re-review the future capital programme and associated financial implications.
Well, yes, associated implications for the revenue budget. I think we can agree with that as the members. Yeah. Right. Is that all right, as they say?
It is about that, we've got two more to go.
Sure. We've had a reference back from the financial monitoring task group to show they're quite busy, and the meeting, I have to say, I've livened up quite a bit. We don't have a chair here, but our next meeting of the work programme is on the 20th of March. And at that meeting, we will be asking you for the questions that you want to go forward to the Borough Commander for the following meeting.
I'm not allowed to use the word parking spaces. Taboo.
Okay. Good, we've got through with our meeting class meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.